to explain, one of the reasons we do that, these are 7 elected people in this community. It's only fair that they have that information prior to the general public. The reason for that being is if there are members of the public that want to question them, it's appropriate for them to have had that material, enough time to kind of absorb that and be able to answer the question that you may put out there. Agreed. That being said, if we were to move that back, I don't think anybody has a problem. Understand you lose some of that robust piece because it's not as up to date. In other words, for example, if you want that material put together on a Tuesday, I mean, we update this right up to Friday morning. Right. So even though you don't have a lot of time to see that, it is as robust as it can possibly be, which is a practice around the entire state. That's because of trying to get that information out in a timely fashion. If you do it any earlier than that, then you lose those days, which consequently become added to the next one. And that's certainly okay if that's what the board decides, but they have to understand that that puts that in verbiage.
Right. And I know we have more than one lawyer on the board, so we could, maybe you could post it earlier with the appropriate caveats, but, we can count back, and it makes sense that the board has it before the public, but we could count backwards and maybe do a little better, maybe at least 24 hours, maybe institute, the standard that even Congress has, which isn't asking a lot, so I'd love to see that.
And that's a board decision. Where the board decides to do, we'll certainly do that.
Great. Well, I don't ask, let's just ask not why, but why not? If we can make it happen. I don't know who you need to talk to or who needs to move on that, but that would be great. The next question I have is about the budget. As you know, we're scheduled to have a public hearing on the budget September 26th at 7:20, and then the final vote to pass this year's budget is scheduled for 7:30 on the same night. So I know that public comments, you're very generous with the public comments as you need to me now. That they will run as long as necessary, but I don't think, again, we can have a meaningful exchange and the board wouldn't have any opportunity to deliberate on what the public says about the budget if the vote is immediately after the public hearing. So when I brought this up at the last meeting, August 8th, and I went back and listened to the videotape on YouTube, the answer was, this is from Mr. Heidi, when I said, hey, can we have maybe a public hearing on the budget some days sooner, some days prior to 9/26 when we vote on it, the answer was, we'll work to make it more clear to the public kind of what the time frame is going to be from now until September 30th, and that there were more plans for additional committees of the whole meetings between now and September 30th. I think you meant the 26th. So I'm hoping that maybe if there's other meetings on the agenda, I know there were some dates coming up on the facilities plan, maybe we could parlay that into a public meeting on the budget, but I know there's a lot of people that this year in particular, with the fiscal restraints that we're all feeling, everybody wants to see that because there's some serious, facility issues that need to be addressed. I know there's a lot of costs that are in that budget. I really feel like there's got to be some fat that can be trimmed off that so we can give our kids air conditioning, we can give them the things that they need. And I think it would be easy pickings from some of the line items I see in that budget, but I think we just need more time to absorb that as a public and talk about it. And then we want to give you our comments so you can deliberate and maybe you can find some savings too in the budget to make those things happen.
Well, and Charlene, to respond to that, and I was going to bring this up under other items of information, but since you raised it, I'll bring it up now. We looked into whether we can move the time and or the date of the public hearing, and we have already noticed the public hearing, so we are not able to move that. However, we have a committee of the whole scheduled on September 12th. Okay. A portion of that will be devoted to discussion of the facilities master plan, but a portion of it will also be devoted to the budget. Okay. So that is an excellent meeting for anybody who especially has questions about the budget and also anybody who has comments or ideas about the budget to attend. And then, as you point out, on the 26th itself, even though we list the public hearing beginning at 7:20, the public hearing will go until anybody is done giving comments. So there will be 2 opportunities for members of the public to learn about the budget and to comment on the budget. I have made the suggestion to the administration that I think we ought to specially publicize those 2 meetings in addition to the usual publicity that we give to our meetings. That we consider something like an email blast specifically about opportunity So I think with that, we will have, an adequate period of time for people to learn about the budget. Certainly comments on the budget can be directed to the board, not only during these two meetings, but certainly by emails and phone calls in between the two meetings as well. So I think we should have a pretty fulsome opportunity to comment on the budget.
That's great, and I was hoping you were gonna pick out that 9/12 date, I saw that on the calendar too.
That's what it's there for.
That's great. Would the board consider, delaying the vote on September 26th if you get any kind of pushback or bright ideas from the public at the public hearing on the same day, 9/26?
Unfortunately, there's limited ability to push back a vote on the 26th. We are required to enact a budget by September 30th.
Okay.
If we fail to do so, then we levy no taxes for the year, which would have a dramatic impact on our budget.
Yes, it would.
So my recommendation would certainly be to the board to get that done by the 30th.
That might make some people happy, but
Yeah.
we as a school board can't have to make
that's-
sure that doesn't happen.
And the reason I asked, so for all intents and purposes, that any kind of public debate where you can kind of take it under advisement, discuss it, make any adjustments, that would have to happen September 12th, because the vote's gonna also happen September 26th. So that's just really, we'll listen, but we're not gonna act on what you say, because now we're up backs against the wall, we're taking the vote. So September 12th is really when we need to ask our substantive questions.
I think it certainly would be helpful to get comments, particularly as early as possible. There is room to maneuver on September 26th. I don't want to imply that the board must approve the budget exactly as it is presented to us on the 26th, but I think the recommendation would be that, for instance, if somebody wanted to cut a line item on the 26th, it would need to be in the form of a motion that we could still approve that evening, rather than telling the business manager to go do another draft.
Right.
That we probably can't do on the
Right.
26th.
Okay, so at least we know the timeline is right there. And then,
Can I just make one more comment on that, John?
Sure.
And I just want to highlight what John said. It doesn't limit any community member from emailing the board. The budget has been posted. People are savvy now, you can get on the internet. We're videotaping the meeting, so I think a lot of people are more aware where they can get the budget. And if questions and issues come up, if someone can't get here on the 12th or can't get here on the 26th, when board members receive emails from the board, from the public, and they're not sent to all the board members, we make it a point to make sure that all the board members get the questions and comments that are made by the public. So I want to make sure that people understand they don't have to show up if they're not able to show up on those 2 days. They're always free to email each and every board member whatever comments or issues they have on the budget.
right, and I still think a discussion board or a chat room or something along those lines would be great, because, FAQs are good for other parents to read. We all click on the website and we see the same thing, and there's really not a lot of explanation there for some of the questions that might arise, and chances are we all have a lot of the same questions, so could shorten these meetings up a little bit. And okay, so the last question I have is the Illinois State Board of Education School District Budget Form. This is the document that I'm hoping to be able to review, because this is, I think, the official budget that you submit to the state. What is on the website right now is, it looks like a document with summarizations, highlights. It's very truncated with explanations, why percent's going up, why percent's going down, those kinds of things from the school board. But I'm hoping that the community can maybe take a little more of an objective approach by just looking at the actual filings. I'm hoping that this will appear on the website, and I think it's due 30 days before the vote. So will this pop up there on Friday?
Well, I will find out from our business manager what the plans are. I will tell you this, the very first year I was on the board, I too was troubled by the difference between the budget that was presented to the board and the document that was filed with ISBE. So I sat down with both, and I actually compared number to number to make sure that the form was the same as the form the budget was approving, and it was. If anything, I'd say over the 4 years that I've been on the board, each year the budget presentation given to the board has become more and more detailed and more explained. When I first was on the board, the budget presentation was extremely truncated. It is now quite detailed. It is, I believe, more detailed than the ISBE form is. So you are actually better off in terms of getting a real understanding of how the money is used and where the possible cuts might be, looking at the format that we have posted on the website than you would be if you looked at the ISBE where I think you would find numbers more rolled up than you would find them in the presentation that's been given to the board. That said, after the meeting, I'll ask you a question and see, what the administration's plans are as far as posting the actual ISBE form.
Yeah, I was looking at last year's, kind of comparing the document provided by the district to the parents with the explanation and then the formal, and I like the no spin version, so if you could post this would be fantastic. So, okay, I'm done.
Mr. Heidi, I would just say that document will be included in the September 12th materials that will come to the committee of the whole.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other public comments? All right. Well, thanks. We will move on then to the items on our regular meeting agenda. And the first item up is approval of a health insurance plan for 2011-2012. Ms. Allen.
I would just respond to additional questions by the board.
Okay, I don't know for anybody who's come in since we did our committee of the whole, but
the audience.
this was our topic for the committee of the whole, so we've just had a presentation and some time for discussion. So let me turn to board members. You have at your places a form of motion to approve either the plan to join the Northern Illinois Health Insurance Plan Cooperative or to continue with the current setup, which is described in the form of motion as the Hub International proposal. Let me ask first, before we make a motion, whether there's any desire from board members for additional discussion or additional comments. Then after that, I'll ask and see if there's any public comment on this, and then I'll ask for a motion. Board member comments? Okay. If not, let me turn and see if there is any public comment on the health insurance proposals. Come on up. Becky, if you would let our commenter have the podium for a minute. Hi, if you could give your name and.
Susan Sweeney.
Hi.
I was at the committee the whole meeting, so I was looking at the chart attachment 3, and I was curious to know why what they used was the highest and the lowest PPO charges to reflect, so that you would sort of see. It seemed like that there would be a difference somewhere between 12.9 and 3.1% increase, or is that kind of what you?
They looked at all 27 member districts
Okay.
and gave us the district that had the highest increase and the district that had the lowest increase.
Okay. What I was wondering is, why didn't they use the mean increase? Because when you look at 2010, say, across the board, the mean looks like it'd be more like a 12% increase or something like that. I didn't add, I'm just looking at it visually.
And the
And then-
districts that are listed there are not all 27 districts, it's just selected districts out of the co-op.
Did they select these because this most closely resembles us, or was there no reason?
Stevenson is a high school district, we're an elementary district. Libertyville 128 is a high school district, Geneva is a K-12 district, Mundelein is an elementary school district, and New Trier is a high school district. So I just think they took arbitrarily chose districts and made no comparison.
Okay. But for the public's sake now in this meeting, does that mean we presume that it's going to be about a 7%, did I understand you to say, increase, what we would maybe expect?
The increase, 6.6% increase
Okay.
under the NICA proposal, and
Could they not have provided something that, if that's what it is, that would show the actual mean increase amongst all 200 or whatever, as opposed to what that,
27 districts.
or 27 districts, as opposed to the high and the low?
Well, I think this attachment serves a different purpose. We know what the increase would be for this year
For this year?
if we join NIHEP, and that's earlier in the materials.
Right.